This video is primarily an engineer task, but truthfully through history, infantry and special operations used to do this also. And that is in placing landmines to slow pursuit. Now, let's give you a little scenario here. Let's say you are the guerrilla force, you just performed a raid on an enemy outpost, or you were doing a mission overwatching an enemy assembly area, an enemy transportation route, and you were seen. You got to bug out of the area as fast as possible. If you're doing a raid, you did what you needed to do. You destroyed the particular piece of equipment or supplies, snatched a prisoner, freed prisoners, whatever it is. Now you need to break contact and get out of that area. You know that the enemy is going to pursue you because they're pissed off you did what you did. Well, the common tactic to slow your enemy is to put landmines behind you. One way you could do that is first off and place the mine as you're moving up to perform the mission. You may not arm the mine, but you'll have it in position. So let's say when you were moving forward, before you got online to do your raid, you told your people the particular route you're going to go out on. They walked it when they were coming in. Well, they know they're going to be pursued, so what you did is you put in a couple claymores. On the trail as you were moving up. You did not arm these claymores, but what you did is you prepped them as much as possible. You put on the fuse that you need for that mine to set it off, the tripwire fuse, whatever's needed. You went to the other side of the trail and you tied in your tripwire and you left enough there to string across the trail to arm the mine. So we got our stakes in place. We then go through, we do our mission, and then on the way back, the person that's near the end of the formation, they know their job is to prep the mines. They'll have one or two people with them doing security. So those two people will be here on either side. While you prep the mine, you just string the tripwire going across to the fuse, arm the mine, and then you pull back, do the same to the next one, and then you hightail, meet up with everyone else to continue your exfiltration. Another thing could be, and I do believe that tripwire mines are the best for this type of operation for slowing an enemy pursuit. Another good one would be the Palm Z stake mine. So as you're falling back, maybe you'll pull out that mine. You still have your one or two people doing security. You put that stake in. Mine is on top. You connect in the fuse on the mine, and then you string the wire going from the tree trunk to the mine, and then you continue going back, putting in one or two more. You always want to stay ahead of your pursuers. You don't want them right on your butt. If they are literally right behind you, you're not going to be able to put mines in to slow your pursuit. Or I should say, not be able to use most of the mines that a guerrilla force would be able to get a hold of or make. Are there munitions that could be hand and placed behind you to quickly put in a mine to slow pursuit? Yes, there are. I was not trained on those. They were a special forces thing. I would see them referenced in manuals. Sometimes we would have pictures of them, but there was no information on how to employ them because we weren't authorized to know. So that's for the tripwire ones. What if you have a blast mine? Such as an M14 toe popper, a VS50, TS50, PMN, PMN2, PMD6, you get the idea. Well, with those, you might have to pre-dig, depending on the time of year. If it's during warmer weather and that stuff, you may have to clear out the space to put your mine in, and you'll put a little marker next to it as you're moving up. Okay, and let's say we have another one back here. We did the hole, and we have our little marker here. What could be our marker? Well, it could be a piece of engineer tape. It could be a piece of orange hunter's tape. Just something that you use that you can see easily. It could be an empty beer can that you just set there, that you'll see in your night vision, or you'll see the light reflecting off of it from the moon and that stuff. So then as you're coming back, this time instead of having the person near the end of the column, you're probably going to want them near the front or the middle. They'll still have the 1 or 2 people that are designated to be their security. They come up, drop the mine in the hole, camouflage it, remove the marker. They keep signaling as everyone goes past, hey, mine's right here, mine's right here. Camouflage, and then they continue ahead, put in the next one, continue on down the line till you link up with everybody else and do your final exfiltration. Now there is a video that I have called Combat in Deep Snow. I think I linked to it this last winter. It shows in there the unit does a raid during winter, and then what they do as they're pulling back, the path that their skis are taking on the way out of there. Near the end of the column, one of them clears out a small hole, drops in an M14, camouflages it with snow, gently runs the ski over the top without putting pressure on the mine to make it look like nothing's there, and then they continue on down. The enemy force stays to those ski trails, following them. Likely is going to set it off. Now, my preference for this type of thing is you want a mine that the enemy will set off if they come through there. If you bury a mine, a pressure type mine, you run the risk that the enemy is literally going to run over the top of it and no one's going to step on it. But with a tripwire strung across a trail, string it between ankle and knee height, and I would go closer to the knee, the chances are considerably lessened that the enemy will not hit the mine. Now, the mines that you put in, really you want to put it at a choke point that's going to funnel the enemy right into that location to continue the pursuit. They can't go to the right or to the left. They have to follow right on that trail. So that choke point is the ideal location to put in a mine or a booby trap to slow their pursuit. Now, do these mines, these booby traps, get entered onto a minefield report? Typically no. So if the enemy does not set it off when they're putting in that pursuit, you now have a mine or booby trap that's in the ground until it either detonates on its own or some unwitting civilian sets it off years or possibly decades later. There are entire areas of South Vietnam and Southeast Asia where no one is allowed to go into because those areas are still to this day filled with landmines and unexploded ordnance left over from the Vietnam War in the 60s and early 70s. There are no maps as to where those mines are, and the people that emplaced those mines are probably long since dead. Not to mention the terrain changes because of time, and no one wants to spend the money to clear those areas to remove them, so they just go through and they make them no-go areas. That may work in a jungle, but in a country where You're going to need farm fields. You're going to have people that are going to want to walk through those forests later on. You know, you want to document your mines and booby traps as much as possible for later after the war. Even if it's not you, even if it's the enemy that's clearing them years later, you still want some type of record. But when it comes to pursuit, if you're putting out mines behind you, do as few of them as possible. Do your best to make sure that the enemy has to set that mine off in order to continue pursuing you. Once they set off that one mine, they are going to slow down, because now they know they have to watch for mines. They have to watch for booby traps. So instead of charging through the woods behind you, they're going to go to a walking pace, and they're going to have to keep their eyes open for any signs of mines in the area. That's why you put those behind you. It's not going to stop them. It's just meant to slow them down. And I gave you some examples of some types of mines that you can look up to get an idea of what I'm talking about. Things like the M18 Claymore mine, or the Mon 50, the Palm Z Stake mine, the American M14 toe popper, the Russian PMN. You know, these are mines that were designed for this type of thing, really. Now, for all my engineer brothers and the Patriot Militia movements, always remember, essayons.